Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Stefan Burns. We just had a big explosion on the sun, a 1.9 long duration M-class flare that launched a sizable coronal mass ejection, a plasma storm out into space headed towards Earth. This is a bit of an unusual situation because it occurred from pretty close to the limb, which means that in fact right now we are also being bombarded by high energy radiation or particles like protons. So we're in a proton storm, an S1 proton storm. The first one that we've had of significance reaching an S1 level since May 26th. And well, this is notable because today it's July 30th, 2026. It's the full moon. It's been full moon yesterday. Full moon again tonight. I made a forecast, long range forecast for this possibility back on May 27th. The last big proton radiation storm that I had was May 26th. On May 27th, I wrote this post here. Let me turn myself off. You can read it. This is the heliocentric true sky planetary geometry on August 1st. My long range space weather forecast is there. Is for there to be enhanced solar activity space weather during this time frame of late July, early August. Why? Well, Mercury is in a favorable activating position. Here you see it right there. In conjunction with Saturn and Neptune, Earth is conjunct Pluto in opposition to Jupiter, and all the outer planets are arranged in a rare basket configuration. Venus is loosely trine the Pisces cluster. Here, this is all true sky, not Western tropical, real constellation positions, true to scale, while Mars and Ceres are loosely conjunct Uranus. Only Eris is the odd one out. So I put that up, as you can see behind me again, May 27th, 2026. And specifically, my long-range space weather forecast is for there to be enhanced solar activity space weather during this time frame of late July, early August. And the time frame really gets zeroed in when it's with this geometry, which is July 29th, July 30th, July 31st, August 1st. It's basically at maybe August 2nd too. Well, this is exactly what we've had happen. Here is this solar flare that popped off. You'll see it there from 4492 at 1.9 M-class flare, and really beautiful explosion. You'll notice it came in from 60 degrees in longitude and at 15 degrees latitude. So pretty close to the limb, which is why we are in a radiation storm right now. But even then, the thing still kind of like curves and launches some stuff towards Earth because we can look at our coronagraph. And here's our coronagraph. We'll talk about the sun diving comment too. But here we see our coronagraph and look at the nice halo on that. So we got quite a bit headed towards us. NASA shows the shock model here hitting Earth pretty well. So this is going out. Again, it's mostly here off to the west solar coordinate system, but we do see, at least according to them, the plasma shock wave is going to be hitting Earth, both with this view, and then also it's not bypassing to the north or the south. Pretty good hit there. And then our bulk model is showing most of the plasma going there off to the west. This is our first run model though, but we still get hit with the flank impact there, also with the south-north view. But you look at this coronagraph imagery here, and clearly this is a significant event because we're in a radiation storm now, and we have this having launched off quite strongly from a 1.9 M-class flare. Now, what else do we see here? We see the sun diving comet come in. So this is really interesting. It's a little sun grazer comet, but when they can't make it around and swing back out, they become sun divers, and this comet vaporized into the sun. But you'll notice that it's perfectly timed such that if it was to continue going in, we get the coronal mass ejection. I guess a very slight delay on that. I'll keep track of that like that. Pretty much bang on, baby, which is what we have discussed many times about how these comets can trigger solar activity, especially when they are flying into the sun. They're being pulled in by the gravity of the sun, right? So they're exponentially getting heavier, right? Consider how something's actually just simply getting heavier because of the gravity, accelerating faster and faster. You reach what's known as a critical velocity, where the like the mineral or the atom, the element, whatever it is, right, compound, chemical, it simply is traveling so fast that it ionizes into plasma. It's no longer, its kinetic velocity is so high, it just simply ionizes into plasma. Well, the moment you have plasma, gravity is still important, but plasma is really now electromagnetic. So you can have a small comet. This thing's probably not bigger than 1 kilometer across, and the sun is huge. But if you get a narrow stream of metallic plasma, which is what this is probably in large part going to be, right? Streaming down field lines to an area that's disturbed. Again, we can look here. Look at how that came in the same direction, right? You can imagine how that can set off. It's not hard to imagine how that could set off a solar flare and a coronal mass ejection. So the timing is perfect. Well, we forecasted this back more than 2 months ago on May 27th, and well, here we are. So wanted to point that out for you all because it is believed traditionally that there is basically no way to forecast solar activity at this level of detail more than just like a few days out, basically. I mean, maybe you can look at a sunspot on the sun, but to get like a direct hit, when are we going to have radio blackouts? When are we going to have solar storm impacts, etc.? That is what we want to know, and that's what basically the mainstream says is impossible. Now you'll see here our DRAP model, and this right now has just started to expire for our time frame because it's not a full 24-hour model, but our flare peaked at 1700 universal time. So you see here the peak R1 radio blackout that hit North America right there, and you see it fade out, and now we see our S1 radiation storm turn on. This is just a model visually showing, but you get radio blackouts in the polar regions when this high energy flux comes in. It follows down the magnetic field lines and makes radio propagation difficult. This method of forecasting space weather with planetary geometry is pioneered by J.H. Nelson back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. He has a book called Cosmic Patterns. One of the main things he was forecasting for were radio blackouts because he worked for JCA, and they were a communications cooperation, business organization, whatever. And so he was looking at sunspots, he was looking at planetary geometry, and then he was correlating that with when they picked up radio disturbances. And after a little bit of time with that, all of a sudden he was like, hey, I keep noticing that during these specific planetary geometric angles, like under these conditions, we very often get these sort of big radio blackouts that last a day, 2 days, or big geomagnetic disturbance. So I have picked up where he left off, and well, 2 months ago put out the forecast based on planetary geometry, just as Nelson would have done, and well, here we are. So we can see the shock wave from this. It's really cool. So check out our 211 view with our 193 filter on it. You see the shock wave propagate out. Really quite impressive. So give it a watch. You'll see it sweep out pretty quick. Right there. See that? That's that coronal shock wave. If I really make this go fast, we may see it better. I hope increasing the speed doesn't mess this up. So let's try this out. Oh, I'm not sure how much I can increase it. Doesn't look like I can go to 200%. I can go to 200%. So here's this coronal shock wave. See that? I think it's a little easier to see at 200% speed. So yeah, even though it's from 60 degrees and 15 degrees up, we got something coming in. So hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weather guy. If you're new here, hello and welcome. We cover everything as it relates to the Earth energetically, with earthquake activity, volcanic activity, geomagnetic storming, severe weather, planetary alignment, solar activity, cosmic forces, all the cool things that generally know very little about. I do my best to figure it out and present this information to you with an open mind. So we look at the science and we also go beyond the science. All right, that is what we do. Question is, what's going to happen after this impact? Because we have these space weather impacts. It's not like we've never had them before. We're going to continue having them. But right now, Earth is in a pretty interesting position energetically after having been battered by some significant earthquakes. There's, super high temperatures sweeping across the globe. It's the warmest that the Earth has ever been, according to historic records, which are very limited. But going back to the 1880s, 1850s, we're setting temperature records, sea surface temperature records. We have this super El Nino that's forming. We're having tropical or like even just low pressure depressions turning into tropical storms and then category 5 cyclones literally in like a day or two. Just out of nowhere, these monster storms. We had the 7.1 earthquake that struck Japan, and now they've been having these crazy thunderstorms and weather bursts to be hitting them just to the northeast afterwards. So clearly a lot of electric charge is building up with the Earth, in the ground surface, in the atmosphere, with the ionosphere. And now we have this plasma impact coming in. So sure, Earth can take more of these impacts. That's not really contested. It's just the more that we get this sort of solar activity in these plasma storms to hit us, the more electrified the planet gets. If we don't get a chance to really discharge, right, we get some breaks in between, well, that charge is going to keep accumulating. And then these geo events that are reciprocal to it will likely get bigger. That's the longer forecast here that I would issue. Is that we're looking at more frequent and more intense earthquake activity, volcanic activity, severe weather events, and probably also natural geologic factors like erosion and stronger waves and wind and more churning of the atmosphere. Just everything seems to be hyper accelerating right now. So yeah, that is what we're going to get into today. We'll talk more about this solar storm. Want to direct you, before we get into it anymore, that I have a website. This is earthevolution.com, and there's an Earth Analytics page. If you want to check this stuff out yourself, you can. You can go to this website here, and we have, for example, real-time Schumann resonances there, our global seismic activity level. Here we have our real-time radiation belt forecast. You're going to see an aurora forecast. You have aurora coming in as a result of this solar storm impact, real-time views of the sun, sunspots, and even a model there of the solar system to see the planetary alignments and more. So you can bookmark this if you want to stay up to date. We'll be updating this as time goes on as well. Excuse me. But I also want to direct you here to the store, because this is where a variety of all organic holistic wellness products are being sold by my dad and I. We run this together. I started this off a couple years ago, and you guys love these products. And in fact, right now I'm drinking the fruit tea, which is super good. So no, this isn't red wine. I'm not getting drunk. But it's a really delicious iced tea. Like, it's so amazing because it's sugar-free, other than just, I guess, maybe a little bit of natural fructose or something from the strawberries and the elderberries. But, no junk added, but it's a fantastic flavor to it. And it's also pumped full of electrolytes and vitamin C. So it's really good for your immunity. So you can pick that up on earthevolution.com/store. There's other products as well. The fruit tea here, for example, is right here. And it makes just a really good iced tea. It's also good for when you're sick, but you could make a big pot of this like I did. I got some water boiling, dumped in a whole bunch, let it steeped, chilled it down with some ice. On a hot summer day, this is the only thing keeping you cool. And there's a little bit of lemon balm in here, so it keeps you calm as well. It's an natural anti-anxiolytic, anti-anxiety kind of herb. It's good for that. It's good for the autonomic nervous system, to sleep, to rest, relax. So there's strawberry, elderberry, hibiscus, lemon balm, and also rose hips. That's what's in the fruit tea. There are other things in stock as well. I recommend that you check it out. So let's check out what's happening right now with this proton storm. And this is probably actually the better place to go right here. Here is our real-time proton flux. And we see that right after that explosion on the sun, within 2 hours, we were in an S1 storm. So you see things are totally flat. We're measuring high energy protons. So these are, it's characterized by mega electron volts in this scale here. And we see greater than 10 mega electron volts, greater than 50, greater than 100, greater than 500. To get the greater than 500 mega electron volt protons to move, it has to be a big storm. So this is not that. This is an S1 storm, which is the standard warning threshold. We had a huge storm early this year. We'll look at that in a second. But you notice that the 50 and the 100 mega electron volt protons went up. And yeah, we are still in that S1 zone. Looks like we're about to drop off, but maybe we get something else to pump it back up. It's certainly possible. Here we can go to our timeline view. And this shows it nicely as well. So here is this 1.9 M-class flare. You see the proton storm starting up right afterwards. And if I go back, you'll notice that's the last time we had a bump in proton flux that was significant. We had two little ones there, but they did not reach that threshold, that S1 threshold. So let's zoom in on this. There it is. That's the 26th of May. This is when I put out my post for the long range forecast of the 27th, for exactly right now. And so it's just a synchronicity, basically further verifying the fact that there's something to this, because right from one proton storm to another, we are back into it. Now, we've had some bigger solar flares, right? But I was forecasting for this specific time period, and well, this is the first significant radiation storm that we've had since I issued that forecast. So it really is quite perfect. In addition to that Sundiver comet, this is pretty cool. Check this out. In addition to that Sundiver comet, we also have this Jupiter-Cassini because of the planetary geometry. So here it is. So this is our sun right there. They put a disk over it so we don't see the sun to block out the light. So instead we can see the dimmer light of the corona. And for example, this solar storm launching out. You'll notice that after it launches out, it starts to get speckly. That's from those protons hitting the sensor. It's called radiation snow or proton snow. So you get that after a big solar explosion that has that magnetic connection to Earth. But look right there. There's Jupiter. So the sun, we're rotating around the Earth faster than Jupiter is. So it's actually moving forward, but from this perspective, it's retrograde with the stars, moving with the stars. But we notice that it's there, and it just performed its Cassini. So we have Jupiter-Cassini perfectly right there, Jupiter being known as the shepherd and guide of the asteroid belt and all these comets, right? They're all held in position by Jupiter and the sun together. And well, lo and behold, the exact moment we have a Jupiter-Cassini, right? We have this Sundiver comet fly in, and then we get this solar explosion with the coronal mass ejection on the exact date of the key planetary geometry. Let's look at that now. So here is our planetary geometry. We'll look at it with solar system scope. This is an application that you can download, or you can use the free one on my website, maybe on their website too. Either way, here's our planetary geometry right now. So 30th of July, and we are just now moving through our full moon. It was really more exact yesterday, but it's about a 3-day time window, at least according, this is what I practice. There's Jupiter in Cancer. This is a significant alignment for a few reasons. This alignment here has Jupiter in Cancer. This is nearly the same position that the sun will be for the total solar eclipse next year, August 2nd of 2027, which is the longest total solar eclipse of the century. Like, it's a very long eclipse. It's very notable. So this Jupiter-Cazimi and also this Jupiter-Pluto opposition is linked into that total solar eclipse next year in Egypt, which is, again, very, very significant because it's having its peak length of totality directly over Luxor, Valley of the Kings and Queens. So that's pretty crazy. I mean, I think there's going to be some pretty big stuff that comes out there, because Cancer is all about power. It's about this dynamic between power, between like the home and then public institutions. So Capricorn here is like the government, for example, whereas Cancer is the home, the people, right? The mother, the father. So this is a very significant alignment as it relates to what's coming up. We also have on the 12th of August, a total solar eclipse here in between Leo and Cancer. But this one is really speaking to next year, what's happening right now. But this is the planetary geometry that triggered that. We also had an interesting, during this moment there, these are both 135 degrees if I remember correct. So with this alignment, we also had a 135 degree to Venus, a 135 to Mars. And of course, we have the larger planetary geometry that's active right now, as we can see with Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter and Saturn. And let me show you that a little bit more clearly with some drawn lines here. Here you see that very, very clearly, this basket configuration, sextiles connecting these guys, an opposition between Jupiter and Pluto, trines between Neptune and Jupiter and Uranus and Pluto. And Saturn there, which doesn't really look like it's in this, it's actually very close to this nodal point. So that was the geometry yesterday, effectively the same today. These outer planets move slowly. It's the inner planets which move a little bit faster. But this is why I issued that forecast. So we have this plasma storm coming in now. And this is now kind of the next question is, where do we go from here? After we get another plasma charging event, what happens next? Because we've had, oh, by the way, the code for 10% off till the end of the month, which is a rare discount, is the word planets. So we are running a 10% sale. I forgot to mention that. Use the code planets for 10% off. The link's in the video description if you want to check it out, as well as like how you can copy and paste the code and everything. But if we go here to our global seismic activity level, we see that we've kind of been on this descending trend line there for earthquake activity. Going back to the 7.8 in the Philippines, that area is still having some earthquakes every now and then. Here's our double burst in Venezuela, the 7.2, 7.5, and the 7.2 in Japan. This here is our, what is that? Our 7.3 that hit Mexico. And then this is our, well, they have it with the USGS rating of 6.8, but the Japanese have this as a magnitude 7.1 that struck just a few days ago, as you remember. So we've been seeing a lot of earthquake activity. There's been a lot happening, but we are also kind of noticing now a lot of electrical activity because this earthquake activity brings electric charge from deeper in the earth to the surface, and it doesn't dissipate instantly. So what's happening in Japan right now with some of this crazy violent weather, just immediately in the aftermath of the earthquake, is really good proof of that. Also, Hurricane Genevieve formed right off of the epicenter of where the magnitude 7.3 was in Mexico. And first you had the earthquake on the 17th of July. Then on the 20th through the 23rd, you started having some earth-facing solar activity that charged things up, and then right on the 23rd, Genevieve popped up near that epicenter of the 7.3 and blasted off through the Pacific, still category 1 right now. So we see these connections across time, and we have some big storms right now in the Pacific. Here's Super Typhoon Dolphin. That's a category 5 cyclone. Cyclone, typhoon, hurricane, all the same. The proper term is cyclone. Typhoon is the local name, or hurricane is also a local name. Category 5, just blasting through. They have it now degrading to a, I think this is category 3 right there by Tuesday. And originally it was skewed to go up to Japan. It still very well may do that. But now the forecast models, based off of the pressure ridges and everything, are steering it more here towards like Hong Kong, Shanghai, and China in general. But we've been having these storms pop up in the Pacific. I mean, here's one I'm just looking at right now. Look at this guy. Beautiful Fibonacci spiral on that. They're all over the place. Here is Genevieve, still category 1, blasting off, creating a whole bunch of energy here. Something I was thinking about yesterday, today, is that even these, and then we had Hurricane Fausto. If you just go back right here, look at how long-lived Fausto was going across. It finally just died out, as you can see. But all this activity that we've been having in the Pacific is simply making the water a bit more choppy. We just had tides, right? High tides because of the full moon. And so there's just been a lot of wave action. Maybe you've seen some of the videos. There was this video from California of these waves that just kept sweeping this 10-year-old off their feet. A lifeguard had to come out. It was this huge waves. You know, there's a point where, okay, yeah, the action's here in the storm. This is the cyclone. This is where it's happening. But if you build up enough resonant energy here, right, this really builds up there. Then maybe 2 weeks later, a month later, if it's able to kind of hold on to some of this resonant energy, that's when you can get something to spring up really quickly. So it's not like it's all concentrated there, and the moment that this is gone, it had zero impact. This can be a little bit more of a long-lived thing. So we're building up a lot of resonant energy in this part. We also had the solar flare, as I showed you. You know, it ionized right over North America when it hit. So we had the earthquake activity right here, the 7.3. We had some other recent notable activity all around. And so there's a huge amount of energy right now that's slowly moving up north towards off the coast of California, Oregon, and Washington. So, and then, I mean, look at this. It's again, right? It's not just this hurricane. Look at this big system there. There's got some swirling, some action in there. It's much bigger, as you can tell, right? We can really see that guy form there pretty quickly, but it's swirling now. So we're just building up a lot of chop in this area, and I could very well see there being a big event in California soon. Though, you know, I've been saying this for a while, and we've been having on and off critical conditions for a while, and everything's overdue, and everything's at the right time. But the question is when. That's the tough part. The space weather is fortunately easier to forecast than the earthquake activity. That we were also forecasting, you know, potential for a big earthquake with this planetary alignment, and it happened. So, but it didn't happen for California, it happened for Japan. Something to point out, this was brought to my attention by spaceweathernews.com. They have a daily update that they do, FYI, so you can check them out if you want. But we have a convergence of 3 meteor streams also happening today. So we have the Alpha Capricornids, which typically are intersecting our orbit right around this time here, the 30th of July. We also have the Southern Delta Aquariids, which intersect, and we don't really know who the parent is for it. It's kind of a mysterious meteor stream on July 30th. That one specifically is known for its big fireballs. Or sorry, the Alpha Capricornids are known for their big fireballs, And the mystery stream will have rates of up to 20 per hour of these meteors coming in. Look to the constellation of Aquarius and you'll see them. For the Alpha Capricornids, I think you're mostly looking to Capricorn. But yeah. Then we have the Perseids. So this peaks on the 12th, but it's a wide stream, so we're already entering that as well. So we are also right now at this meteor convergence. And maybe it's one of those that flew into the sun, though it came in roughly from this angle like that, right? So I'm not sure exactly what flew into the sun, right? Comet or who the heck knows, really? You know, we're just seeing a little pixel moving on a screen. Really, at the end of the day, who the heck knows? But we also have this influence as well. So imagine all these things coming in, flying up, vaporizing, turning into plasma, and then depositing that plasma all across the Earth into the upper atmosphere. Eventually decharges, but it's still a unique composition of exotic minerals and materials and more. So that's coming in. We have the proton storm right now already charging the Earth, right? Again, here's our proton flux, already charging the Earth up, and then we get the impact. Then we're going to have that impact come in. It's going to hit us, not a direct hit, but I think this actually, see that blob right there? If we use that blob as an example, I think that could definitely be a little further over. I think we have a pretty good impact coming in. Again, let's just look at this chronograph imagery. I mean, this looks pretty solid. There it is. Clearly, most of it's going to the west. The bulk of it's going to the west, solar coordinate system. But we have a good hit coming in. The best one in a while. They've been forecasting some stuff to come in actually right around this time frame. If we go to the NOAA solar wind model, they're still rocking the old model here from the 28th. Let me show you this. And they show a variety of influences, things that were launched off. I don't really see too much because I track this stuff too. I feel like it's a little bit of a reach, but regardless, they have this model showing double increase in plasma density, slight bump in the velocity, nothing big. I think the expectation for this is G1 levels at a maximum. But this is supposedly coming in right about now or within about 24 hours. Maybe it's actually kind of slow. It's just creating some chop and turbulence. I could be more in line with that reasoning. And then this other one sweeps it up and compresses it further. So the other one doesn't need to be hitting us with the bulk of its plasma. There's already quite a bit of plasma pockets, you can say, that are just slowly moving towards us. And then it just like brings them all together and pushes it forward, and then we get a big impact. So we could be looking at G3 levels, if that is the case. Plasma is sticky. Sometimes it behaves very oddly in space. So we could be looking at a G3 storm. I think my forecast is G1 to G2. That's why I posted on my X account. You can follow me for real-time updates there. This is x.com/Stefan Burns Geo. But under the right circumstances, we could be looking at a G3 storm. So that's a pretty significant storm. There is evidence that we get a spike in earthquake activity about 1 lunar cycle after a significant geomagnetic storm, so about a month afterwards. There's kind of this corresponding increase in seismicity, so we could be seeing that now for like the end of August, for example. Maybe we get some big earthquake activity near the end of August as a result of this charging. It takes time for this energy to work its way through the system. That's kind of the key point. Solar flares are more direct. Geomagnetic storms are a little slower, but they all influence it. So let us do now a question and answer. And I know some of you guys have done super thanks. We'll take some from the regular chat too, but I'll start with the super thanks just to get it rolling. So Stacy, thank you for the $5, the super thanks. Thank you so much. It's really appreciated. And also for the membership gift there. That's very generous, so thank you for that. Dan, our mod here, thank you for moderating, and yeah, get outside and get grounded, dude, if you're not feeling well. But thank you for your hard work and for the super thanks. Cheeseburger, keen to hear your thoughts on recent earthquakes on or near New Zealand and the Kermadec Trench. Also, 2 fireballs in New Zealand over the last week, including a sonic boom. Yeah, I saw that on the AMS webpage. Definitely there's been some unusual activity around New Zealand. If we go to our past 7 days here, but nothing that really has me worried, I would say. I mean, this 5.7 there being pretty significant. That's a big earthquake. It was felt by quite a few people. You know, that's the biggest earthquake New Zealand's had on land in some time. And there's been a bunch of activity to the north. So it doesn't necessarily bode well long-term for New Zealand, I would say. But New Zealand's like California. When it goes, it's going to go. It's just the best thing you can do is just to be ready and recognize these trends and maybe be a little bit more ready when it's kind of showing signs of activity. But really seeing the activity cluster more up here. Once we start to move it further south, then we got to be mindful. We did have this guy here, 5.6, right at the junction of right kind of this bend in the Pacific Antarctic ridge there. So yeah, don't know what to tell you, but fireballs flying overhead, maybe be a little bit lighter on your feet than normal. So thank you for the super thanks. Amanda, thank you for the super sticker. And Beth, thank you for the super thanks. Yeah, we're not at the solar return yet. We're getting close though. So we're getting close. Thank you so much. And the Passion Lab channel, thank you for the super thanks. Sounds like you probably have some interesting content there on your channel, so thank you for showing up. And Margarita Diaz, thank you for the super thanks. Not sure why people are saying it's my birthday. It's not my birthday. What? It's not my birthday. But thanks, guys. No birthday yet. We got a little bit of time. we have some time before it's my birthday. I don't know who started this. I mean, if you want to keep donating birthday money to me, I'm not going to say no. But it's not my birthday yet. So let me look through the regular comments and see what we got. See if we have any questions that have come in from the main chat here. And then we'll do a quick sound healing. Is your name pronounced Stefan or Stefan? I pronounce it both ways. So yeah, actually there's like a dozen ways to say it. Stefan is another one. Stefan, right? There's a whole bunch of different ways. Stefano, Stefano. So yeah, it's kind of a you choose thing. Oh, here's something. I've had other people ask this question about us temporarily losing gravity for a few seconds during the August 12th eclipse, and that's just nonsense. That's someone clearly did a good job spreading that rumor, but that's just a nonsense thing. So you don't have to worry about floating away. That'd be insane. It's just not going to happen. That's the big question. Don't know. Don't know. Try my best to forecast it, but I think we're going to see very clear, to answer your question the best I can, I think we're going to see very clear activity preliminary. Like, I mean, I think we're going to start to see some low-grade earthquakes. It's like boom, 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 like this really quick. That anyone paying attention will be like, okay, that's weird. Like maybe like a magnitude 4 swarm somewhere. Because that's weird. If you get a magnitude 4 in California, that's actually kind of notable for certain locations. For example, we had this magnitude 4.3 that struck Cloverdale. Right here, 4.2. They raised it to 4.3, then they backed it back down to 4.2, I guess, along with this 2.5 and some from the geysers nearby, right? But if all of a sudden we would get like a swarm of like 4.2, 4.7, 4.8, 4.4, 3.8, 4.6, like all in like 6 hours or 12 hours or 48 hours and in a location that's a little unusual. Like maybe it's running up the Hayward Fault and it's like we're getting that happen here. Oh yeah, that's probably your sign that it's coming. So that's not guaranteed to occur, but that's kind of what we're looking at. And it's got to be probably at that magnitude 4 zone, because these magnitude 2s and 3s, you get swarms of those, and that doesn't really mean too much. But you get a magnitude 4 swarm, then we could start to be looking at preliminary activity for something much bigger. And then maybe if there's like a couple 5, 4 shocks that hit, then now you're really talking. So that's how we're going to forecast in advance. But it's not going to be probably 5 months in advance. It's going to be 3 days in advance, or something like that. Oh, and just thank you again for the super thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. Yeah, not my birthday, but yeah, thank you guys. Much love to all of you. Someone was asking, about a collab with this guy. I reach out to him and never got a response back. I reach out to him on X. So, I don't know why, but I reached out, never got an answer. That's all, there's really nothing else to say there. So, would have been fun, but maybe didn't see it. Maybe doesn't want to show his face on camera. I think that's kind of an important thing, is to actually like show your face on camera nowadays, not to see that you're real. But that's just my philosophy. Let me get a singing bowl, and let's get started with that, and then we'll sign off. We'll use our solar plexus singing bowl today for the solar activity. And I want us to be drawing mindfulness to our solar plexus heart chakra area. The two are very linked together. Of course, they are separate. There's many more than 7 chakra points. But we're really in this period of heart expansion right now on this planet with this Earth. Not just us, but the Earth itself as a whole is in this transformative heart expansion, heart opening, metamorphosis. But that has to be driven by energy somewhere, and that's what's coming in with the solar plexus, that energy center. Because while the heart is the strongest electromagnetic field, it's your digestion and your food intake that's powering everything. So it's this center point that kind of is where a lot of that energy actually resides. So we're going to focus today on the solar plexus to help support these transformative changes that are occurring through the other chakras, especially the heart chakra. And just relax. Maintain nice, tall posture, but let it be comfortable. Draw your awareness within. And be mindful of your breathing. You want nice big breaths, but not huffing and puffing. Just relaxed, but good volume, deep. You want to cycle the air. Okay. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody. I will be back with more for you as I track what's happening with the Earth, with the planets, with our star, the cosmos. I'll be releasing updates here, of course, and also on my X account at Stefan Burns Geo. All this is linked in the video description, and also remember you have 1.5 days left for the sale at earthevolution.com/store. 10% off, a big discount for a big planetary alignment. Use the code PLANETS for 10% off at checkout. This is for everyone in the United States. We do not ship internationally. Canada, Mexico, we do not ship there, just United States. So wishing you all the best. We'll be having this impact come in probably in about 2 days. We'll see what happens with the geomagnetic storming, but I think we're looking at least at G1 levels, probably G2, maybe even a little stronger than that, but I'll probably be live streaming it once we're in it. And I'll be back with more updates, of course. So smash that thumbs up button to help the channel grow. Subscribe. Thank you all so much for being here, part of this community. Much love to each and every single one of you. Please take care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next video.